Hello, Nikolai Markovich from Echolake Technologies, echolaketech.com. And in this video, this is sort of a continuation of the calendar series that I created. And I'll put a link down below in the comments for those videos. But this one is kind of a use case implementation where we have multiple users, and these users are sports teams and then also sports venues, so places that have sports fields and so forth, that sports teams can go and reserve a time slot. And so I basically took the calendar design from the other videos and kind of built upon that, and that's what we'll walk through in this video. Now the first thing I want to go through is some of the data changes that I made. So in the calendar event, this is the same type that was used in the other video. I added a couple of new fields to it, and they are, let's see, we have who can see event, and it's a list of users. And the reason for this is when events get created now, the creator of the event as well as the team who signs up for the time slot, we want to be able to share the calendar between the two. I have user type as well, and this is basically whether it's the sport arena owner or if it's the team, the sports team itself. And then let's see here, we have event color. So basically there's some default values for colors for the calendar, and with having an event color data field, we can now go and change what the colors are going to be depending on the event type and status, and that leads to event status. And so event status is basically the ability to go and show whether a time slot for a field is available, if it's reserved, or if it's pending approval for a team to sign up for it. And we'll walk through that in more detail. The other thing, there's one last field here that was added, requester name. So basically when a sports team goes and requests a field time, we need to capture their information under the calendar event, and we'll walk through that as well. The other change to the data is on user. And basically for the user, since this user type is special within Bubble and all users use this type, we have now sports team users, and we also have the field owner user as well. So for the sports team, we wanted to capture what the sport is, football, soccer, lacrosse, field hockey, so forth. And then for the sports center name, so the owner of the sports field or the sports facility, this gives them the opportunity to go and put their sports name in there. All right, so that is it. The other thing in this implementation is there's actually a sports center calendar, and I'm going to move over here. I've got multiple windows open for this this demo, this video. Sports team calendar. So again, we have sports center calendar. So this is where the sports center can go and create available time slots, and then the sports team can go in and they can go and choose available time slots. Now, for the design on the Sports Center, it's again pretty similar to the other design, the other video. A couple of changes though, and one of them here is event color field, and now it's event color. So if you recall, back to the database here, for the calendar, we now have a field event color as type text. So now we can go and we can change the event color. The other thing that we have in here, let me just scroll down, so we got event color, is selected event color. So when you go in right now, and actually I'm going to go and add it so you can see. This is a default calendar, and it's a calendar event. So this way, and I'm not going to build this all out, but just so you can kind of compare and contrast. So again, event color. So this is the default value here, and I've changed it so that it is dynamic, or not dynamic, but based on what's in the database. The other thing is this calendar owner's current event color. So basically for that event, I can go and change what the event color is as well. And this contrasts to the default value here. So just so you can kind of compare and contrast, I'm going to delete that. Now the behavior is pretty much the same when I go to my workflows, and on here, let me just move this out of the way. All right, so I can go and let's see which one is the create. That's approved. Okay, here, so what we have is create a time slot. So this is pretty much the same as in the other design, no changes there. We have approved time slot. So when a user comes in, a sports team comes in and requests a time slot, they will get approved, and then this will show the approval. And now the approval one. So this is when the Sports Center receives an approval or a request for an approved time slot. They can go and approve the time slot here. And before I do that, let me go show you. This basically has the sports team's information, the contact name, their first name here, and then their last name as well. So if you remember earlier, I was saying that the calendar event, one of the data fields that added was the requester's name, which is of type user. And then basically I just go use the requester's name and their first name, and then the parent group calendar event, requester's last name. And then the contact email, again, it's the parent group calendar, their requester's name, email, the name of the teams, requester's name's team name, and then the sport, whatever sport they have, and then the start time and the end time. So when I go to the approved time slot here, I'm basically just making changes to that calendar event, and I'm changing the status to approved. So when I see a new request coming in, it's going to say, I think I put pending approval, and then when it gets approved, the event status changed to approved. I also changed the event color as well. So as you'll see in the demo, this is just a quick visual to show the different status of when I have an open event or a free event, when I have one that's pending a request from a sports team, and then one that's been approved. And then I simply close that pop-up afterwards. So that's, let's see, so approved time slot, open time slot. This is the same as the prior video. This is just to go in and get the information on an available time slot. So no changes there. So basically the only two new pop-ups are the approved time slot and the pop-up to approve a request. Again, this is from the Sports Center perspective, the Sports Center user. Now I'm going to go over here to the sports team calendar. So this is from the sports team's perspective. And what I have on here is, let me just, who can see event contains the current user. So basically, actually, I'm sorry, I'm going to back up here and go to show you the calendar owner. So when an event gets created, then I add who the current user is, the person who has responsibilities or owns the field. I'm adding them in there. I actually do want to go, and I did make a change to the time slot. So there is a bit different from my other videos. When I create the new time slot, I do go in and I change the color of the event. And then I also make the status to open. And then the user type is Sports Center, and the current user I add to who can see the event. So then basically when an event gets created, I'm going to change the color, I'm going to change the status of it to open, meaning the field is available, and then I'm going to add the current user to it, and it's the user type Sports Center. Okay, and then over here for the sports team, who can see the event contains current user. Now initially when a sports team comes in to log in, they're not going to see anything on their calendar until they go and make requests. Now the way that they make requests is I have a repeating group here, and basically I'm just doing a search for all calendar events that are greater than today's date, because I don't want to show anything that's in the past. That's in the past. The event status is open. Again, there's different status for events. Sometimes they're open when it's available. They're going to be reserved and so forth. So for this, I want to show all the open events. And then the user type is Sports Center. So basically, I just want to go and show the available events that are open that are by sports centers. I also put some descending order for this as well. So that's going to show the different events, and in here I just simply have the name of the sports center, the start and end time, and the duration. You can certainly add other types of information for the sports center, the address, their contact information, and so on and so forth. That's a pretty simple repeating group here to show the information. I also have a request time slot button. So when a sports team sees an event or an opening, a time slot opening, they can go and request the time slot. And it's simply, I just do a pop-up for a window. So pop-up request time slot right here. And I simply go and give the sports team a pop-up that says request time slot. And then the workflow of this is let me just back up here. When I click on the event here, I'm sorry, for this, when I click on the time slot, I want to provide that specific time slot's information. And then I bring it here, and on the request time slot, it's that specific event's information. And what I do is I provide for subject, I just put in here the current user's team name. You can put whatever you want that might be of interest. I do change the event color. And I do this so that, again, visually you can see that there's a request pending. So it's a nice little user experience ability to add in there. Event status. So it's no longer open. It's now pending approval. So I do change the event status here. I add who the requester name is, and then I also add who can see the event. So at this point, now the sports team gets added to the event, the open time slot, via the who can see event. I also send an email so that the venue knows, the field owner knows that somebody is looking for the time slot for a field, and it's just simply whoever owns a calendar event, the creator's email, the current team name, and who the user is, the sports team user. Give them some information about the time slot here, and just hi, want to reserve this time slot. Here's my contact information, and then I have this so that I also put in a link so that the user can actually go in, the venue owner, the field owner can go and click on a link, and it'll pop up that calendar event in the app. And that's basically it. I just close the window, and let's see, that is basically it for that. Request time slot, pop-up info, time client info. So some of these are kind of old windows from my earlier app. I did a lot of copy and pasting, so some of these are not really relevant. So event information is not relevant for this. Appointment information. So the time slot approved. So when a time slot gets approved, this is the ability for the sports team to go in and see basically the sports center information, the name of the sports center, their contact information, the start and end time. All right, so that's basically it. Now let's get into a demo. So again, this one, I am a sports team. I'm going to slide over. I've got a third window open here. So I've actually got two sports teams that I created for this. So user 3, they're a lacrosse team. I've got user 2 and just team user 2. And then over here, I've got the sports center, user 1 sports center. So nothing is on all the calendars. It's all empty. There's nothing there yet. So I just click on here. I create a time slot like that. And you'll see that it's green. Now the default calendar, it was a blue color, and so for this I changed it to green. And let's put a couple of these in here. Make this one another time slot. We'll put another one on here. Let's make it later in the day, like that, and I'll just add another. Now, the other thing is that if I create a time slot, I can click on it and remove it. Now, if I click on the box here, it's going to open up this information where I can remove it. If I click on the white spot here, it's going to give me the ability to create a time slot as well. So just something to be aware of on how the calendar works. Okay, so I've created 4 different open time slots for sports teams to go and use. And as you can see here, so team user 2, and now in the repeating group, I've got some time slots available that show up, and now I'm user 3, and again, it's the time slots are showing up here. Now for, let's see, user 3, we'll pick this one. So confirm, yes, and now you'll see that it shows up here. Okay, different color, it's not green. I've changed it because it's pending, waiting for confirmation. So I've sent a request to user 1 sports center for this time. Now if I come over here, now I'm user 2, and you'll see nothing shows up over here. Okay. You'll also notice in the repeating group that that time slot is no longer available because I've got a request pending for it. Now if I come over here as the sports center owner, okay, I've got somebody who's making a request. Pop it open, approve time slot. This is user 3, lacrosse for this time slot. Okay, I'm going to approve it. And there, changes the color on there. So now again, I can quickly see green's open time slot. The purple is that it's been reserved. Approved time slot, the information. Now if I come over here, user 2, again, nothing. User 3, it changed the color here as well. Time slot approved. Excellent. So now let's go over to user number 1, or number 2 rather, and let's make a request for time slot. Okay, so let's go over to user 3. Nothing there. They've got their 1 o'clock time slot, and this is a 4 o'clock time slot. Now let's go over here. All right, so I've got 4 o'clock request. Let's do the approval of it. Changes it green. And look at that for user 2. And then again, user 3, he or she they only see their time slot. So I can go over here and okay, let's pick this time slot. And we'll approve it. There we go. So okay, user 2's got 2 time slots that have been taken. Got those 2 here. And then user 3 or team 3 only has that 1. Now there's no more time slots. One thing you'll notice here is I actually have 4 time slots. Now as I'm writing this, it is after 12 p.m. on the 24th. So while I was able to create it, because I have logic in the repeating group, it doesn't show up in the repeating group because it's already past event. So if I went over here and I created another one, and I can have the 2 at the same time slot, so I might have multiple fields available. So I could go and request like that, and approve it. There. And that is basically how we can go and kind of extend the capability of the calendar. And we can change the colors based on the state, if it's available. Let's see, like again, just to create one, if it's available, we'll make it green. If it's pending, we'll change the color to this kind of orange. And then once it's approved, it'll go to purple. So this is a pretty powerful way to visualize quickly what the status is of different events. And this also allows the user, both the sports center as well as the sports team, to go and make time slots available and choose those time slots and have an approval process as well. So there's many other things that you can do from here. You could add some messaging. I do have some other videos, and I'll put the links in for how to do messaging. So basically, when you have an event on here, you could add another button that does messaging that would go to user 2 as well. So you can keep extending the capabilities of the calendar and make it pretty powerful on how you allow users to go and create events, request events, and communicate with one another. I hope you enjoy this video. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. I also have my contact information in the notes below. And if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. I always appreciate that. That way I can kind of see if people are watching the video and enjoying and getting value out of it. And with that, I will see you in the next video.